It's historically been the youth who come out in support of the underdog in global conflicts. So it's no surprise that Gen Z are standing in solidarity with Palestine in this latest Israel-Hamas war. However, what is terrifying to some commentators is the rise of anti-Semitism and strong support for the Hamas terrorist group from these young people. Sky News All Stars Rita Panahi, James Morrow and Douglas Murray exposed the terrifying rise of Hamas sympathisers amongst young people. Young people across the globe have passionately shared their support for Palestine and Hamas across social media. Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi exposed how frightfully ignorant these people are.
Now let's check in on some of our youngest and brightest. Seriously though, these lefties have been failed by their parents and the education system.
Do you guys think Hamas is a terrorist organization?
They are a political organization. Certain countries such as Canada, the UK, the United States recognize them as terrorist organizations, but I think that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
I live in New York, so do we live on stolen land here too?
Yeah, we do.
It's all a genocide that either was completed or
People look at me.
What's your favorite Palestinian saying? From the river to the sea, Palestine would be?
Free.
What would happen to all the Israelis?
They would use their second citizenship to whatever country they immigrated from and they would go back.
But not everyone in Israel has second citizenship.
But everyone came from somebody that came from some heritage outside of the Middle East.
Like Yemen?
Like Yemen, yes, exactly.
So Jews could go back there?
Ethiopia,
All the Jews could go back to Ethiopia?
Not all of the Jews can go back to one specific place.
Well, Ethiopian Jews.
Wherever they came from.
What about Libyan Jews?
Okay, they can
go back to Libya, right?
They could stay in Palestine if they honor it as Palestinian territory.
Basically, what they're advocating for would see the slaughter of all Jews, but as is often the case with frightfully ignorant people, they end their rant by calling for others to educate themselves.
Do you feel bad about what happened on October 7th?
So I can condemn any act of violence that harms people, and I just would like to acknowledge the fact that context is important.
Right.
And when...
Because they killed a bunch of people, 1,400 people in one day. It's the largest killing since the Holocaust.
What?
It's the largest killing of Jews.
Oh,
the largest killing of Jews since the Holocaust.
Since the Holocaust, yeah. Okay.
So you still want them to go back to Yemen, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria?
Aren't educating themselves. They're just following a rhetoric that's been in a family that's completely immoral and inhumane. But nobody wants to educate themselves. And I think if people picked up their phones and
educate yourself.
She also says students who support Hamas need to be deported.
This one needs to be deported. She's a student at Durham College who is very proud of Hamas and wants them to commit the October 7 attack again and again.
I support Hamas.
History is made that day. Very proud of my people. Very, very proud. Would love it if they would do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. No, they're not terrorists. I support every decision. And you know what? What they did was history. Very proud. History was made that day.
Now, if she's born and bred in the West and she's a failure of multiculturalism, failure of her parents and the education system, if she's not a citizen, she should be sent back to wherever it is she emigrated from. Perhaps they share her genocidal values, but here in the West, the majority still frown upon mass rape, torture, and the deliberate slaughter of innocent civilians.
Sky News All-Star James Morrow extended this point, saying the anti-Semitism displayed by university students is actually an attack on the West.
This is the key. This is what everybody needs to take away from it. Yes, this is anti-Semitism, but this is also about the war within the West for the soul of the West. And this fight here that is happening right now, what we are seeing with that young person, what's happening at university campuses around Australia, around America, around Europe, is a sickness. And it is about the fight over whether or not we remain countries that have a liberal democratic outlook, or whether we slide down towards some sort of leftist totalitarianism, because what we're seeing here, all of this is not just about undermining Israel, it is about undermining the freedoms we all enjoy.
Commentator Charlie Kirk agrees, saying Hamas support is just the newest iteration of anti-West rhetoric from university students across America.
I think this Israel-Palestine issue is just the latest example in a variety of different ideas and topics where we see the most radical and fringe ideologies come out of these university campuses. I mean, at Harvard University, which is considered to be the best school in America, 31 student organizations, right after the terrible massacre against the Jewish people on Yom Kippur, came out in favor of the Hamas activity. In fact, some professors even said it was justified, and another Ivy League professor said that it was a wonderful day and celebrated it. So some of the most vile and disgusting ideas that we've seen come to the surface in the last month have a point of origination on college campuses, which is why I wrote the book, The College Scam. University
campuses are rife with pro-Hamas supporters who are spreading their terrifying anti-Semitic message and forcing Jews to take cover. Douglas Murray has been very vocal in slamming the normalization of anti-Semitism on university campuses.
A number of law firms in the United States this week actually wrote to Ivy League colleges saying, we're going to be keeping a very close eye on this and have no intention of recruiting people who apologize for terror or support terror. And it's quite something that the firms have to write to the universities to remind them of their obligations. I return, by the way, to the previous point. I mean, this is commonplace, this sort of thing. Almost every campus in America, the major ones certainly, are filled with instances like this of Jewish students being harassed, chased down, bullied, intimidated, mocked for the murder of their co-religionists. If this happened to anyone else, we wouldn't tolerate it. If this was a black student after a murder of black Americans somewhere who was being chased on campus by, I don't know, the same people who killed other people, we would not miss a second in condemning this. We would not miss a second in condemning this. And yet, this has become normal on US campuses and across much of the so-called civilized world. It amazes me, Rita, that only the Jews, when the Jews are massacred, are then taunted, are then told that they have to be mindful of those who would kill them. We have to respect the feelings of those who would kill them and who call for their death. And then just lone Jews in places like this are able to be bullied and taunted, and shame cried at them. No, the shame is on Hamas for breaking what ceasefire existed. Shame is on Hamas for beheading small children. Shame is on Hamas for burning families alive. And they dared to do this. They dared to chase down Jews and chant shame at individual Jews. I hope that the identities of all these people come out and the world can make judgments about them.
And Sky News contributor Tommy Lahren revealed the absurd plea for donations from Hamas supporters at Harvard.
For some of the most highly educated students in the country and in the world, this really is an embarrassment. And right now they're reaping the consequences of their own actions with employers that are looking at these pro-Hamas, pro-terror students and saying that they don't want to hire them. And for good reason. They have every right to do that. They have every right to look at the people that might be coming into their institutions and their companies and look at somebody who has a pro-terror agenda or sympathizes with terrorism and to say that they don't want that. But these students at Harvard, they are being impacted by this Hamas propaganda, just as so many Americans are. And it's truly unfortunate. Again, I will say, I hope that these students are just confused. I hope that they just misunderstand the dynamics. I hope that they aren't truly evil or pro-terror. But I think that they're going to see the consequences of their actions. And I hope that they see the light. I hope that they change their perspective. And you know what's also interesting to me is these are some of the same students and the same student groups, these liberal students on college campuses around the country that will advocate for pro-LGBTQ all day long. And then on the next week, they will advocate for being pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas. The two do not match. I'm not sure how that escaped them, being that they are Ivy League educated, but it certainly has.
Sky News All-Star Megyn Kelly slammed the executives of these universities for failing to protect the safety of their Jewish students.
You're absolutely right. Can you imagine a situation in which the KKK was protesting on a campus and they said to the black students, stay inside, don't eat, don't go to the dining hall because we can't protect you? It's unfathomable. It would never happen. But there's a different standard for the Jewish students. And it's disgusting. It really is anti-Semitism. What would be the other reason? It's kind of like, oh, you asked for it. It's complicated. You're just going to have to deal with the effects of what's happening between Israel and Hamas. No, wrong answer. Try again. But these universities are so weak and they're so beholden to these wokesters on the left who are now trying to turn this into a purely political issue without paying any mind to the disgusting terrorist attack, that they're afraid. They don't want to stand up to them. And I will say, I think more Jewish individuals and Gentiles and Muslims who are against what's being done to our Jewish friends and Buddhists and Hindus, we can go down the list, need to get out there and say something too. I mean, I'm happy to go out there and put back up the Israeli flag, put back up those posters, shame the people who are pulling them down. I really am. And the first thing I'll do if somebody tries to challenge me is turn on my iPhone so I can make a star out of whoever tries to mess with us. But our Jewish friends need our help right now. All these so-called allies who helped during BLM and they helped on the trans stuff and they helped when gays needed equal rights. Too many of them are nowhere to be seen. And the Jews are finding themselves alone, which makes it even scarier to go out in large numbers and protest.
The LGBT community is full of young progressives who will hop on any bandwagon to support the oppressed. Hamas in Palestine is no exception, with LGBT flags flown at several protests around the globe. Sky News contributor Alex Stein made a mockery of this in an online skit.
Here you are mocking the suicidal idiocy of LGBT activists who protest for Palestine, a place where they wouldn't last 5 minutes. Here you present your case to Plano Council in Texas.
I'm here representing Gays for Palestine. We're an organization representing the 2SL LGBTQIA plus community that stands with the persecuted Muslims who just want to jihad in peace, all right? So, a lot of people are rushing to judgment against the Palestinians right now because of the stuff they're seeing on TV. I just want to say, a lot of people have misconceptions about Palestine. Mia Khalifa, one of the most popular porn stars in America, who has done a bunch of lesbian scenes, is standing with the Palestinians. And just because they've thrown a few of my allies off of roofs in the past, that doesn't make them bad people. We must look past that. Because, you know, this is 2024. Palestine is changing. And just because gay people have had to run to Israel for protection in the past doesn't mean anything. We love that their women have very little rights. That's why they have such few traffic accidents. So we agree on more than you think. Palestine is on its way in the gay direction.
Alex, I have a lot of questions, but first let's not miss out on this song you wrote for the occasion.
I'll say it one more time. All the gays love Palestine. All the gays love Palestine. All the gays love Palestine.
That's the only section of the song that we could play. Alex, please explain yourself.
Well, Rita, you know that I'm insane and that I'm crazy, but what I do is called culture jamming. Like, I take the most absurd parts of our culture and I try to jam it in people's faces to bring awareness to it. And there's nothing more hypocritical in this entire world than seeing the LGBTQ community coming out in support of Hamas, basically. I mean, you would think that this was a joke written by Saturday Night Live, but this is a real thing. And if they were to go to Palestine, they would literally be thrown off a roof. I mean, that's not hyperbole. That literally happened. So it's just kind of shocking, I guess you would say, that people have such strongholds in their identity politics that they can't even, see the nuance of supporting an organization that literally wants to kill people because of their sexual orientation.